Hello, I am Carrie Aaron, and I'm here with Chuck Spitzer, Tim Rowland, and Paul Muldowney. Stay with us, for you are now on the flip side. By the end of February 2014, we'll all know who's running for public office, locally, statewide, and nationally. But before that, it's fun to speculate. Panel, who's in, who's out, and who are rumored contenders? Let's start with the Board of County Commissioners. Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the county commissioners is going to be one of the most fascinating races we have this time around, specifically because it sounds like everybody from the cast of Bridge on the River Kwai has thrown their hats into the ring on the Republican side. And from what I hear, there's only Ron Bowers is the only Democrat, which would have quite an effect if that were true. And the Democrats have been having trouble rousting people to office. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, conceivably we could be seeing 1995 all over again with Ron back if he does take the Democratic vote and there are 5 other Republicans to split.
Any other opinions on county commissioners?
You're not hearing anything on Al Shire because it's an off year for him, I think. I mean, he can still keep his city council seat and run for county commissioner, I think. But
or school board.
Yeah, but anyway, you haven't heard anything on Al Shire.
No.
I think he probably might be a candidate.
All right,
as I sit here and
well,
think
he's got trouble, trying to keep the city hall straight and then running over and trying to keep the county commissioners straight and then running back to city hall. It's a big job.
It's got a lot of, everybody's got problems.
Right.
What do we think about other local offices, such as school board or sheriff? Any rumors there?
It's been my limited experience that the first time someone runs for sheriff and there's no incumbent, it's a bloody mess. And I think all the way back to, forget even his name, he ran against Dick Ford. Anyway, that was very bloody, and Skinner was his first name. You got to cut me some slack on this one. But after that, there was a bloody mess between Charlie Mage and his opponent, first time. After Mage was elected, he was a walk-in, and the same thing I think is going to apply to Mullendore. Mullendore had a tough race first time out, and this time I think he's done a good job, and I think he's a walk-in.
Besides, there was a guy who had just robbed a bank, wasn't it? And Mullendore went after him and like
As a setup,
in his own
man,
and yanked open the door and grabbed him and threw him out on the ground. The sheriff's doing this, not any of his deputies, man. That's you got to vote for somebody like that.
It was so good, it was almost a setup.
Yeah. Oh, I don't believe in setups.
So he's a hero on that, but there's
I'm
nothing else
kidding.
we can say was a negative. So kind of goes along with what you're talking about there.
Mullendore's done a good job, and I
gets the
think
YouTube
he
vote.
will be rewarded with no formidable opposition.
All right, school board, I mean, it's rumored that all 3 that are able to file or that are currently in office will file again, and that's Fisher, Bailey, and Harshman. Any other talk on the streets as far as other school board contenders?
No, but I sure would like to see some.
The problem is they only pay, I believe it's $6,000 a year, which is a fraction of what a lot of the other public offices pay around here. I can make an argument both ways as to whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I don't think it tends to get people lining up, like at an Aerosmith concert or anything. And so that's why you see the paucity of candidates for school board.
Mm-hmm. And there's a rumor that, do either of you or any of you know anything about Russell or Williams? No?
Have not heard it, but it's very possible.
I love Russell Williams. I do. Rides his bike in town. He's a Mensa. I mean, and
you can see that red flag.
Yeah, but he writes a lot of letters to the editor, and they are. Now I realize the bar is not terribly high for our letters to the editor, but he makes about the most sense out of anybody that any candidate that ever writes in. So I'm on his bandwagon.
All right. Well, moving on, let's talk about statewide, the governor's seat. I mean, it's quoted that the Baltimore Sun says it's going to be the big race this year. There's a lot of, I guess, people putting their names out there. What do we think?
Slam dunk for Anthony Brown. I mean, he's lined up so much support that it's going to make it impossible for anybody else to get any support. Of course, they said the same thing about Kathleen Kennedy Townsend. she lined up all the money and nobody else had any, everybody had maxed out on giving big money, and in comes a Republican. But I believe Anthony Brown's a slam dunk for governor, and his running mate for lieutenant governor.
So you don't think the
Gansler?
The Republican, Craig or Ron George?
Well, let's talk about the Democratic primary just for another
All right,
second.
sure
The
thing.
second guy is a Gansler out of Montgomery County, but if he shoots himself in the foot one more time, he's not going to have a foot. So I think he's kind of worked his way out of the race.
Yeah, I think the night at the beach house was pretty much it. You know, he walks in and everybody's he was checking on his son, and yeah, there are people there with their plastic cups and they're dancing
Underage.
on the table and stuff like that, and you know, he's cool with that.
Underage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd have done exactly the same thing, but I wasn't running for governor at the time.
Right,
so.
right.
And there's a lot of rumor too, and she's just recently been in the news here. The delegate Heather, and I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, and I apologize, but I believe it's Mizure of Montgomery County. She's taking several unique stances as far as, you know, how she's going to run and how she's and just
Until recently, if you follow her Facebook page at all, she's been a one-issue person. Now she's starting to expand out a little bit, because I think somebody probably told her, hey, you need to talk about more than just one issue. But I don't think that's really going to be an issue.
You know, I'm tempted to make some kind of bad remarks about people, but I remember Harry Hughes and Harry McGurk saying, Harry Hughes elected governor, he's like a lost ball in the high grass. And lo and behold, we started calling him governor. So, but I think a governor's race is a slam dunk for Anthony Brown, and that's it.
I do too, but it might set it up for Heather in 8 years. She's sharp. She's sharp.
If the lieutenant governor running with Brown gets caught doing something bad,
Like visiting a beach house with nah, you're right. I don't see that happen.
What about some of the other offices? Any opinion on the Serafini, Parrott? Who's the third in that ballot?
Shank.
Thank you. Any opinions on that?
That was a curious move that they did to form a ticket, I guess, or a slate. And from what I understood, it was more the kind of the protect Parrott, who after a couple of unremarkable sessions, they've seen as the weak link. And so this way they can funnel money to him. They can be seen with him. The county is conservative as this. I don't know how much trouble he's really in, but I think that was the impetus behind that slate.
But I think the public should know that two-member district is a result of the redistricting committee that established that two-member district in hopes of knocking somebody off, either Serafini or Parrott.
Well, I think they hope to knock Parrott off. I don't think they had too much problem with Serafini.
Yeah. But the way I got it figured, if Serafini helps Parrott in Serafini's district, and vice versa, they're going to be formidable.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. We had some good discussion, and I'm sure there'll be more to come. Stay tuned, because when we come back, Paul is going to talk about the 2014 General Assembly session in Annapolis. We'll be back.
When Scott was just a little kid, we knew something was a little different about him.
So what do you think, Scott?
Well, I was hoping for something with flames, a big block, and a high car.
So it really wasn't a surprise when he opened up a speed shop on Marshall Street in Hagerstown. You can find performance parts at every Megamart or .com, but when you buy from Scott, your satisfaction's guaranteed.
And our prices are still as low as my socks. We still have bras.
For your car, of course.
Scott Speed Shop on Marshall Street in Hagerstown.
The University System of Maryland at Hagerstown provides a convenient and affordable opportunity for you to meet your goals.
I graduated from Hagerstown Community College. I went into the job force and I had 3 children, and I just decided I was ready to obtain my goal of becoming a teacher.
At USMH, you can choose from more than 20 programs of study to complete your bachelor's degree or earn a master's degree.
I feel like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be.
USMH, you're ready. we're here.
It's that time of year again at Hagerstown Honda. The 2014 models are on the way and the 2013s must go. It's your last opportunity to save big with 0% for up to 60 months on every new 2013 in stock. There's less than 300 models remaining and time is winding down. Looking for the lowest payment? Lease the award-winning all-new 2013 Honda Civic 4-door LX Automatic for only $219 per month with no money down. Or lease the award-winning all-new 2013 Honda Accord 4-door LX CVT for only $269 per month with no money down. It only happens once a year. The Honda Summer Clearance event going on now from the dealer that's making it easy, Hagerstown Honda.
The Bottom Line Sales Event is back at Hamilton Nissan. It's our biggest sale of the year and your chance to save thousands. Get up to $5,000 off on Altimas or drive for as low as $18,600. Or choose Rogue, up to $6,000 off or as low as $19,200. New Sentras for under $16,000. Over $7,000 off on the new Pathfinder. Frontier pickups starting at only $18,100. But hurry, the Bottom Line Sales Event is for a limited time at Hamilton Nissan, your dealership for life.
If you have the audacity to believe that the massive challenge of saving for college deserves more than meager attention from your financial advisor,
if you believe that whatever you're facing, you deserve FaceTime.
Join the nearly 7 million investors who think like you do. FaceTime and ThinkTime make a difference.
Join us.
At Edward Jones, it's how we make sense of investing.
These really are the best years of your life, so why not make the most of them at Homewood at Williamsport? Conveniently located near Washington and Baltimore, we have a rich tradition of helping retirees maintain an independent social lifestyle. Homewood offers attractive, spacious cottages without any maintenance hassle or headaches, plus a vibrant social community and access to the best amenities and medical care. Woodlands Apartments with up to more than 1,200 square feet of beautiful living space. Now's the best time to look into Homewood at Williamsport. Enjoy worry-free living today and tomorrow at Homewood at Williamsport.
In early January of 2014, the General Assembly of the State of Maryland will begin its annual 90-day session. And I want to remind everybody that's watching tonight that, quote James Madison, when there is an excess of power, as there is in the Maryland General Assembly, no man is safe in his opinion or his wealth. God knows that's true. Some jurisdictions will get what they want. Some jurisdictions will go hungry. But that is to be determined at a later time. Tim, what are your prospects or your thoughts for the 2014 session?
Well, I don't have very many thoughts, so I'll go with prospects. We were just talking about the secession movement in Western Maryland, and in a way, we have already seceded, because we have no representation in Annapolis. So I don't know what the big fuss is about. I mean, you saw this when the delegation was going around to different groups and to get their idea of what they wanted for the session. And everybody's saying, nah, got it covered, don't worry. And this started a couple of years ago when the delegation was saying, don't ask us for anything because we're not going to get it for you. And this was part of their austerity, Tea Party, whatever you want to call it, mentality, and voting against the budget, and now that's exactly what's come to pass. And anyone out here who has business in Annapolis always seems to go around the delegation. They have their own lobbyists or commissions or associations, and so it's kind of a weird time where the delegation, which used to be the most powerful political entity in Washington County, is now something of an afterthought.
Good deep thought. I remember, I'm Roman Catholic, I'm very much pro-life. And I can remember banging it out in committee. But if you lose in committee, on the Appropriations Committee, you still voted for the budget on third reader. And that's what we failed to do. I mean, if you've got something in that huge document that you don't like, you cannot justify not voting for it because so much is going to depend on it. So.
Well, and the whole referendum debacle, taking the 4 issues to referendum, I think that was, especially in Montgomery County, they do not want to hear anything coming out of Washington County after we were doing the stuff about immigrants and gay marriage and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so our lawmakers were accurately representing our views, It's just that when you don't have the numbers and you represent the views that aren't those of the majority of the state, you're going to get flattened, and that's pretty much what we've seen.
Well, I think they made some tactical mistakes on that. They had enough money to do some polling, and they should have selected the most popular issue instead of running 4 amendments or four tries to get amendments defeated. They should have just picked one. And I think, you know, something like the immigration issue, I think that might have carried the day, but they made a tactical mistake on that, and everybody ended up with egg on their face.
There's a, you know, I know you guys have brought up some very valid points as far as things that what our elected officials have done to put us where we are. But, you know, I want to talk a little bit about what is potentially coming, and, you know, the minimum wage is up for, you know, being increased, and how is, you know, how will that impact us? And I think, you know, there's some important issues that we really need to make sure.
You know, the opposition to the minimum wage effort is fairly significant. There's some large counties that not particularly want it, and it's not Prince George's or Montgomery because they've already passed their own. But there's a lot of middle ground being discussed on minimum wage that, like one county says, we're going to set the minimum wage at $1 above whatever the state does. And I think there's a lot of middle ground being discussed relative to minimum wage. So you just, you can't say that it's up or down. I think basically it's a bad move if it were to pass as we think about it today, because it's inflationary and all ships rise with the tide. The price of hamburgers go up, wages go up, you buy the same amount of hamburgers, inflation's got you. So there's a lot to be said pro and con for minimum wage. But I think it'd be a bad move if the state moved ahead with the position that's been adopted now.
That was like Harry Truman's line. He said that Republicans were for the minimum wage, and the minimumer, the better. And, but I always get the feeling that minimum wage has fallen so far behind.
It's ridiculous.
Is it even relevant anymore? I mean, even if you doubled it, I'm still not sure you get any place close to a living wage. It just seems like a fool's errand at this point, no matter which side you're on.
I read an article somewhere, it might have been the Washington Post. Believe it or not, I read that sometimes.
You are enlightened, huh? We'll get you on the Times
that
pretty
brought
soon.
up the very point that you have just stated, that it's almost irrelevant. The living wage in New York City is $22 an hour. The living wage in St. Louis is $18 an hour, and we're talking about raising the minimum wage from 7.25 to 9 or whatever it is. Totally irrelevant.
Well, and it is, because you just referenced New York, but take, for example, you know, a small town in the Midwest where the minimum wage may be more than enough to live off of. So, you know, in the state of Maryland as a whole, we have a very broad spectrum. So how the minimum wage will impact our far western counties compared to, you know, right there in Baltimore are totally different.
Well, and the reality is if you move it to what you define as the living wage changes. Going back to the inflationary response that's going to come from that, you know, if living wage is $22 an hour and we make minimum wage $22 an hour, guess what our living wage isn't anymore? $22 an hour.
But you know, to get back to the common ground that I was talking, compromise on the minimum wage proposal now being considered is let it be determined, let the living or the minimum wage be determined by the prevailing wage philosophy. Prevailing wage in Washington County is much lower than the prevailing wage in Baltimore City, just to give an example. And that's really set by the labor unions, but there would have to be some kind of consideration given to the more rural counties, because I think up here it would kill us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I know that there's a lot that, you know, they're going to discuss, and rain tax, it's possible that they'll revisit the rain tax, and I think no one probably wants to admit it, but there was a recent, you know, a vote by the county commissioners about forestation, and all of that has to do with this broader rain tax, you know, implementation and how you monitor it and what you need to do to protect water runoff and all of that. So it'll be interesting if that's,
Well, since right now we're not actually a participatory county in the rain tax, revisiting the rain tax can't be good for us.
Exactly, exactly. And I was just getting ready to make that point. The original law that's in effect right now is really a screwed up mess, the way it was passed. But and we got off scot-free.
And Paul, is there really any bill or law out there that isn't a big screwed up mess?
Yeah, I sponsored a lot of good legislation. But I think Chuck's got a point he wants to make.
Obamacare, that one's not.
Can't think of anything
Stick
wrong with
around,
that.
folks. Stick around. Coming up, we have Chuck Spitzer, who will give us the lowdown on a serious issue on the life and times of Nelson Mandela. So stay with us and he'll enlighten us.
The University System of Maryland at Hagerstown provides a convenient and affordable opportunity for you to meet your goals.
I graduated from Hagerstown Community College. I went into the job force and I had 3 children, and I just decided I was ready to obtain my goal of becoming a teacher.
At USMH, you can choose from more than 20 programs of study to complete your bachelor's degree or earn a master's degree.
I feel like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be.
USMH, you're ready.
Hi, I'm Mr. CopyQuick. Most people know CopyQuick as the place to go for fast copies. As Mr. CopyQuick, I still do copies fast, but I do a lot more. I do beautiful digital color printing. I also do graphics design. Wow! I was created by my own staff, and I'm so easy to find. I'm located at 710 Oak Hill Avenue, Hagerstown. There's plenty of store-side parking, or you can visit me at copyquick.com. If you want to see how really good I am, give me a try. I'm Mr. CopyQuick.
For over 20 years, Antietam Cable Television Productions has been bringing you local programming. From coverage of the Alsatian Mummers Parade and high school sports to unique local programming like our Ghosts and Legends shows and the Civil War in Washington County. Now you can own them on DVD. Just visit AntietamCable.com and click the DVD store button at the top of the page. You'll find all your favorite local programming from Antietam Cable, and right now, for a limited time, get 25% off plus free shipping on everything in the store. Antietam Cable Productions, bringing quality local programming to your home.
If you have the audacity to believe that the massive challenge of saving for college deserves more than meager attention from your financial advisor,
If you believe that whatever you're facing, you deserve face time.
Join the nearly 7 million investors who think like you do. FaceTime and Think Time make a difference.
join us.
At Edward Jones, it's how we make sense of investing.
Businesses depend on technology, and smart businesses are migrating to cloud computing to increase performance and functionality and to eliminate costly in-house servers. With 15 years of experience, over 100 employees, and over 1 million users converted, Planet Technologies has cloud computing solutions for large business, small business, and your business. Reach for the cloud with Planet Technologies.
Although not in America, Nelson Mandela has had a great impact on Americans in terms of civil rights, racism, freedom from oppression, and human dignity. Panel, what's your take on the life and death of this man of the world?
Well, what is there not good to say about what he's done for South Africa and then the world as a whole, as far as, bringing awareness on racial issues and solving issues within his own country?
Well, I've given this a lot of thought, and I can't. He was a wonderful man. He was a leader, and he showed patience beyond belief. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I hold him up in high esteem, because I have a problem with that. But I can't think of anything that he's done to help race relations in the United States. I just can't. I'd like to be able to say, but the guy that represented Tanya Brawley's probably done more. No.
Yeah, but here's what maybe he does. You know me, I hate inspirational stories, and I have the attention span of a chipmunk. But I guess about 10 years ago, I got a hold of his autobiography, and I was pretty sure that I was going to read like 2 or 3 pages and set it down and never look at it again. And I read that whole thing in about a week. It was just fascinating. It's one of the most fascinating books, and it was so unpredictable, so unlike me to like a book like that and to stay with it. And his story, I think today we kind of are, people want to make him into Gandhi, and he was not Gandhi.
Right.
He was a fighter, and he was tough. And that might be the word that best describes Nelson Mandela, is tough. And the other thing is that, yeah, maybe he doesn't, maybe he's not had an effect over the whole of the United States. But I think, perhaps like myself, he got into the souls of a lot of different individuals. And so in that sense, he has, within each of us, had an effect, whereas perhaps not so much on a grand scale.
Good point.
Yeah, I don't think without him, what happened in South Africa would have. I mean, to be committed during all that time, he was in prison for what, almost 30 years or 30 years. That I've had to read and I look back over my time in school as an example, and I don't ever remember anybody talking about Nelson Mandela. I mean, I've had to take the initiative myself afterwards. And, he was in prison when I was in school, the whole time I was in school. And when he got out, I mean, that's when I actually started to learn who he was. And, basically by, reading about him, not, just newspapers. I mean, you have to go everywhere and get the whole story. That level of commitment to me is phenomenal. But, I kind of go on with Paul a little bit there. I don't know, and what you said, that I don't know that he had a major effect, but I do think that just as an inspirational story, that, and I'm not sure how to finish that statement, but as an inspirational story, it just, it can inspire anybody, not just someone who's interested in race relations, but, anything else as well.
And ironically, in a very limited sense, he might have had a negative effect on race relations here, because he wasn't seen as the Martin Luther King type. He was seen as the Malcolm X type, and there were a lot of people in power who he scared. And from that standpoint, it was just another rabble-rousing black man. And back in the 70s and 80s, sad to say, that was the place we were in. We were still antsy and could be shaken by that type of figure.
But again, in reading about him, when he started, he was the Martin Luther King type, apparently, from what I've read. That he tried to do it peacefully first, and it didn't work.
That didn't work, yeah.
So then he said, okay, I've got to get somebody's attention, and that's when it got more rabble-rousing.
Right.
Maybe one of the reasons why we're not so aware of Nelson Mandela is the fact that he was on the terrorist list of the State Department until 2008 when George Bush removed it. The Bush administration removed that designation of Nelson Mandela, and that may account for the fact that he really wasn't front and center with us before that.
But the other thing too is, now if it were all happening now, it would be different because we have 24-hour news, and we didn't then. And I think that makes a big difference. But you didn't have the same vehicles then to get that information out that we have now.
Yep.
Although he was one person who was the longer he was away, almost the more you became aware of him. That his aura was that deep.
Well, and when he was also moved to the second prison that he was in, there was more. He was able to speak more, and was able to get his message out, not just to the rest of the world, but within his own country. Stay tuned, because when we come back, Tim Rowland will be discussing Obamacare one more time. I'm sure he has a strong opinion on that.
Hi, I'm Mr. CopyQuick. Most people know CopyQuick as the place to go for fast copies. As Mr. CopyQuick, I still do copies fast, but I do a lot more. I do beautiful digital color printing. I also do graphics design. Wow! I was created by my own staff, and I'm so easy to find. I'm located at 710 Oak Hill Avenue, Hagerstown. There's plenty of store-side parking, or you can visit me at copyquick.com. If you want to see how really good I am, give me a try. I'm Mr. Copyquick.
Woodlands Apartments, with up to more than 1,200 square feet of beautiful living space. Now's the best time to look into Homewood at Williamsport. Conveniently located close to Washington and Baltimore, we have a rich tradition of helping retirees maintain an independent social lifestyle. Homewood offers attractive, spacious cottages without any maintenance hassle or headaches, plus a vibrant social community and access to the best amenities and medical care. These really are the best years of your life, so why not make the most of them? Enjoy worry-free living today and tomorrow at Homewood at Williamsport.
Businesses depend on technology, and smart businesses are migrating to cloud computing to increase performance and functionality and to eliminate costly in-house servers. With 15 years of experience, over 100 employees, and over 1 million users converted, Planet Technologies has cloud computing solutions for large business, small business, and your business. Reach for the cloud with Planet Technologies.
The University System of Maryland at Hagerstown provides a convenient and affordable opportunity for you to meet your goals.
I graduated from Hagerstown Community College. I went into the job force and I had 3 children, and I just decided I was ready to obtain my goal of becoming a teacher.
At USMH, you can choose from more than 20 programs of study to complete your bachelor's degree or earn a master's degree.
I feel like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be.
USMH, you're ready, we're here.
Well, golly, what else can be said about the Affordable Health Care Act? Even on this show, we've bashed everyone from the president to the congressional janitor. Both sides of the aisle bear varying amounts of guilt for the problems that we've seen that plague the program, with a noble idea at heart. Every American should have affordable and available health care. So what's the latest, Paul?
Tim, you know, I've known you for a long time.
I'm aware of that.
And we very seldom disagree, but when we do disagree, you never give in. But I got a problem.
I'm always right.
I got a problem with both sides of the aisle bear varying amounts of guilt. When the Democratic Speaker of the House says, let's pass it and find out what's in it, how can the other side be anywhere near responsible for the passage of this thing?
Well, let the other side fix it.
Well, they're trying to, but they doesn't get any PR. It doesn't get any PR. They're trying. They cannot get the national media, be it television or the printed word, to print anything good about what they suggest.
I have to say that, you know, everyone is guilty of passing it, regardless of which side of the aisle they were on.
Take exception, but go ahead.
I'm sure you do. But my biggest problem is, and I agree, there should be affordable health care for everyone. That's great. I would love for that to be in place. However, what we have now, the biggest problem is it is not affordable. It's not affordable for the people that are going to have to pay for it. And the only people that it's affordable for are the people that qualify for the subsidies and meet those specific requirements. So my biggest problem is that there is still a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty with the people who have, you know, health coverage, had it beforehand, and then got the letter saying, oh, by the way, you no longer are going to have health insurance. If you want it, here's your choices, and it's going to cost you a significantly more amount of money. And then my other biggest problem is, and this is me coming from an HR perspective, is how are businesses really supposed to offer health insurance going forward with all of the extra costs and things associated with healthcare reform? It's not going to be pretty.
Well, to your first point, I think you're exactly right. No one really knows. I mean, we're sitting, you know, this is like describing what's going to happen to the Ark after one day of rain. This is a big program, and we're not going to know. There's a lot of uncertainty. We're talking about who gets the blame. Very easily, 2 years from now, we could be sitting right back here talking about who gets the credit. We just have no idea how this is going to play out. And as far as the costs, everything that's gotten press so far has been about, do we have enough enrollees? Do we have enough young people who are getting into the system? Which is certainly, you know, a big part of the program. But the other part of the program that never gets talked about is bringing healthcare costs down, which every indication shows that that's happening. And maybe once those costs get down to a reasonable level, then the people you are talking about, you will see them starting to get into the system. Maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. I don't have any idea.
Yeah, but the problem I have with that is the Affordable Care Act doesn't do anything to address the cost of health care. It addresses kind of the cost of insurance or health care coverage, but it doesn't affect that. It's not, and I don't believe it's intended to change the cost of health care. And to say that every indication is it's coming down is just not the case. It's coming down in 5 states. You know, it means it's not coming down in 45 states. You know, that's not the majority of people. And there are all kinds of conspiracy theories, and one of them I kind of go along with. I don't think it's supposed to work. You know, everybody's complaining it's not working the way it's supposed to work, and I disagree. I think it's working exactly the way it's supposed to work because the president has said numerous times, and you're now seeing more of a movement in the rest of the government to move to single payer. The idea is not for the program to work. The idea is to move everybody to single payer, and we've seen all around the world how that's really not all that effective.
That'd be good. Boy, if our government were that organized that it could make that conspiracy theory, that'd be the first thing I'd be proud of.
But they don't need it to be organized. They need it to be chaotic to make that happen.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. It's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. But I think, you know, when you talk about the cost, I mean, one of the things that a lot of things that are going on now at the ground level are the efficiencies. There are companies that are forming right now as we speak, and they make their money by making the system more efficient and by taking the costs out of that. That's where they get their profit. Whether that's going to work, we don't know. But it's there still is an element of taking the costs out of healthcare, not anywhere near as much as they were talking about in the beginning. And a lot of those things go, and that's what I'm talking about. If they could go back, if both sides are working together, there's a lot they could do to go back and jigger the bill a little bit to make it better. But I don't think you can say that there aren't any costs that are coming out of the system. I think that as a percentage of GDP, the last year or two, it's still outstripping GDP, but only by a percentage point or two, where it was about 10 or 12. So it has helped a little bit.
But that was before the law was enacted.
The stuff that's been going on now, yeah.
I want to just make a point real quick about Maryland, and at first I will admit that I was very much a hypocrite about Maryland having their own exchange. And I really just saw that as a political move for O'Malley because, you know, him potentially running for president. However, now after seeing how it's all unfolded and how enrolling on a national level isn't working, Maryland actually is doing relatively good in enrollees because we have our own exchange. So I do have to take back my initial criticisms for the state as far as that goes. However, that's about the only positive thing I can say about it.
But I didn't think the states, well, the exchange might be, but their website and all, they're having all the same issues that the...
They are having website issues, yes, but they are having issues, but it's not on the same level, I guess, as the...
But I'm intrigued by what you're saying here with, you know, we've kind of seen so far that the American public may not like it, but it's not going back, it's not going away. But if it is so chaotic, is there going to be push from the left to go to that single-payer system? And is there any...
There are already people talking. Well, it depends who you ask. It depends what the goal of the program is. Again, there are those who would say it's nothing about control. There are also people who say that it's all about, you know, getting insurance coverage for people who don't have it. Well, if you just look at the money we've wasted up to this point, we could have paid everybody's premium that's not one that doesn't have health care currently.
Yeah, and we also have the problem of the, what is it, like 25 states that are not participating in the Medicare portion of it. And I think what you're going to see from a political standpoint, if nothing else, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the leaders of those states to enroll in the program. And then, again, you know, it may take a while to get to critical mass, but I think you are going to see people who are uninsured start to get registering in the program, and they will be this younger subset that they need to keep the bill going.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, on the other side of the equation, the supply side of medical services, people talk about the money being drained off of Medicare to assist in the subsidies for OBAMACARE. And the more money you drain out of Medicare, the more doctors are going to refuse to treat Medicare patients because they need the revenue to keep the doors open. So, you know, there's some people who think that with Medicaid and Medicare, Medicaid being increased and funds being drained off of Medicare, that a lot of physicians are going to not treat either one of them.
But the incentives have changed. They don't. It's no longer, you know, on the fee-for-service model where the more of these procedures you did, the more you got paid. Now the model is that the more efficient you are, the more you get paid, and that's a big difference. And
yeah, but also if you look at, if you want to talk about the way that they're getting paid, that's changing as well. Not just on, you know, how you're talking about efficiency, but they have to submit their claims. I'm married to a medical professional, so I have just a little tiny bit of background on this. And you look at Medicare, which was the prior government program that was supposed to fix health care. When she opened a business originally, as a medical professional, we called because we were looking at trying to decide whether we were going to accept Medicare. And there is not a standard for Medicare. If I had a business at 2 Main Street and there was someone in the exact same business at 4 Main Street and we were providing the exact same service, there was not a fee that you got paid for that service. I was told that it depends upon who you are, where you are, and what you charged. I would call, and I walked in, I mean, I called with the specific treatment codes, and they couldn't tell you what that paid. They couldn't tell you until after you submitted the bill. You know, that's the prior program that was supposed to work. Now you're sending in your billing in groups, and they will determine from what you've sent in what they're going to pay you. How do you determine you're going to become a physician or any other medical professional without knowing what you're going to get paid?
And not to pick on you, but I like picking on you because...
You talking to me or her?
I like picking on you.
Oh, okay. So the line starts to the left.
What? Good. I knew I'd get something out of you. What define efficiency? They're looking for, is that 5 minutes to treat a wart? You in and out in 5 minutes?
No, a good example of efficiency. A good example would be preventative medicine, which means that you go in and you take care of a problem before it becomes a full-bore, expensive problem. Well, I think I feel like we've settled the issue. You're good?
We've solved all of the world's problems.
Next up, Paul Muldowney will be talking about the city's police and fire department contracts. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
If you have the audacity to believe that the massive challenge of saving for college deserves more than meager attention from your financial advisor,
if you believe that whatever you're facing, you deserve FaceTime.
Join the nearly 7 million investors who think like you do. FaceTime and Think Time make a difference.
Join us.
At Edward Jones, it's how we make sense of investing.
These really are the best years of your life, so why not make the most of them at Homewood at Williamsport, conveniently located near Washington and Baltimore. We have a rich tradition of helping retirees maintain an independent social lifestyle. Homewood offers attractive, spacious cottages without any maintenance hassle or headaches, plus a vibrant social community and access to the best amenities and medical care. Woodlands Apartments with up to more than 1,200 square feet of beautiful living space. Now's the best time to look into Homewood at Williamsport. Enjoy worry-free living today and tomorrow at Homewood at Williamsport.
Businesses depend on technology, and smart businesses are migrating to cloud computing to increase performance and functionality and to eliminate costly in-house servers. With 15 years of experience, over 100 employees, and over 1 million users converted, Planet Technologies has cloud computing solutions for large business, small business, and your business. Reach for the cloud with Planet Technologies.
The University System of Maryland at Hagerstown provides a convenient and affordable opportunity for you to meet your goals.
I graduated from Hagerstown Community College. I went into the job force and I had 3 children, and I just decided I was ready to obtain my goal of becoming a teacher.
At USMH, you can choose from more than 20 programs of study to complete your bachelor's degree or earn a master's degree.
I feel like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be.
USMH, you're ready, we're here.
Hi, I'm Mr. CopyQuick. Most people know CopyQuick as the place to go for fast copies. As Mr. CopyQuick, I still do copies fast, but I do a lot more. I do beautiful digital color printing. I also do graphics design. Wow, I was created by my own staff, and I'm so easy to find. I'm located at 710 Oak Hill Avenue, Hagerstown. There's plenty of store-side parking, or you can visit me at copyquick.com. If you want to see how really good I am, give me a try. I'm Mr. CopyQuick.
For municipalities in Maryland, usually the largest cost in the operating budget is public safety, and that equates to police and fire protection. In Hagerstown, our police and fire departments are unionized, which means a contract between employees and the city has to be negotiated on a periodic basis. Does it make sense to have this vital part of municipal government subject to union negotiations? Chuck, how do you feel about this?
Well, there's a lot of things they have to take into consideration. One, there's no money. I mean, you can want more all you want, but if there's nothing to pay them with, and you can look at any level of government. I'm not a big fan of unions in government. So to me, I don't think that's where we should go. And the other part is, if you look around the state at what other police officers are getting paid, they're really not out of line. So I kind of take it from there. And what do you think?
Right. Well, the biggest thing with unions is they don't look typically just 1 year ahead. They're typically 3-year contracts or more. So they're debating over, okay, what should we get 2 years from now? They're debating over, maybe I haven't followed the city's personnel policies that closely, but maybe leave things related to leave, other benefits associated, how they get paid their overtime, things like that. That's all part of the process. So yes, there is a place for unions. Where I think the city could have improved was, what did they do prior to help with these negotiations? I mean, I look at, in comparison to the county gave, right before their union contracts and negotiations started, they gave an increase across the board to all county employees. I don't know, I don't know, maybe the city did something similar to that, but I don't recall seeing that they did anything along those lines. So, I think that's interesting, that now they're held up and there's something holding them up. It's just, what is it?
Well, I've done a little scratching on this subject very recently. And number one, public employees don't have a union. They don't have the right to strike. They don't have binding arbitration. They don't have any arbitration. So I don't know what we're talking about in the way of union negotiations and slowing down and work stoppages. But I'll tell you this, I know for a fact that AFSCME and the city negotiating team were that close to a final contract, and they wanted no increase, they wanted step increases that generally take effect the first 5 years of employment. After that, they don't need step increases from the employer's standpoint because they're going to stay. When that happened, the chief of police came into the city council and said, that's not the way to go. What we want to do is take that money and give $5,000 to new employees. That'd be the hiring rate. We're going to kick it up $5,000. Well, he didn't, because he has a hiring problem. From what I see, he does not have a hiring problem. He was able to hire 25 capable candidates last year, but in doing so, they lost about 12. So he doesn't have a hiring problem, he's got a retention problem. And the retention problem is caused by no step increases.
Well, you know, I've sat on the other side of this where I've heard managers say, it's the starting salary, it's the starting salary, we got to increase the starting salary.
And that's just what the chief wanted.
So, yes, I've heard that argument.
Screwed it up.
However, there's two sides to that story. And is it the starting salary? And where are they going? Is the city just a starting ground, a foundation, a training ground is what they say, you know, and then they move on, and that's why there's turnover, if that truly is the problem? Or is there a problem within, and that's why they're leaving? You know, that's news to me. That's an interesting fact. And if that's the case, then these negotiations aren't going to be ended anytime soon.
Well, let's hope they are, but it is a fact that the city police department hired 25 people last calendar year. Indicates no hiring problem for me. And I was a manager for years. If I'm losing employees, something's wrong with what I'm doing inside. And one of the biggest things, most important things to keep employees is to have step increases. And that's just my philosophy, and Lord knows, I've been accused of being anti-union forever.
Well, the city...
Mostly true. No.
Well, the city has several unions, if I'm not mistaken, which I think is a very interesting dynamic for the administration and management of the city. And then you have the employees who are non-union, who probably feel very cheated if they're seeing 4% increases here, step increases there. You know, it's a very interesting dynamic, especially sitting on the other end of the table.
Listen, there's so many details when you bore deeply into this, that we can't discuss it now because we don't have the time, and I don't have the ability. I know what the problem is, but to get into 2 years ago, the county said we're not going to give the city the rebate on the double taxation. And the city, let's see, I've got that screwed up. I have to think about that, so we'll take up something else. But the fire companies, that's an entirely different situation. Mm-hmm. And they are interested in step increases also. So they just got to figure out a way to some way meet the union halfway. And I've looked at this thing, and I don't think the unions are being unreasonable. I just don't believe it. And I'm a management guy.
I'm sure there's a part of this story we'd just love to know.
So?
But for the past 6 months, the council's been hitting around about passing a tax increase, and probably is looking for cover to do that. So what happens if, in the population of Hagerstown, the one thing they have always seemed to support are fire, the first responders, fire, medical, police.
And they should.
And so doesn't this dovetail very well that, you know, if they say they have to have this tax increase, and part of the reason is to make sure that there are police on the streets and firemen in the halls to respond, and each side, in effect, gets what it wants, and it's in the name of a service that the people of Hagerstown seem to hold dear.
One last thing I'm going to throw out there. Does anybody know that there's a cash reserve in the city government? A cash reserve that's not part of the operating budget, and yet it's about 25% of the operating budget, which is twice what the legal limit is. They've got to spend that money. They can't continue to accumulate it. And so it looks like to me if they really try, they can work this thing out. We'll be back with some more discussion after a short break for the panel's last call. Be sure to stick around for that.
Businesses depend on technology, and smart businesses are migrating to cloud computing to increase performance and functionality and to eliminate costly in-house servers. With 15 years of experience, over 100 employees, and over 1 million users converted, Planet Technologies has cloud computing solutions for large business, small business, and your business. Reach for the cloud with Planet Technologies.
Hi, I'm Mr. CopyQuick. Most people know CopyQuick as the place to go for fast copies. As Mr. CopyQuick, I still do copies fast, but I do a lot more. I do beautiful digital color printing. I also do graphics design. Wow! I was created by my own staff, and I'm so easy to find. I'm located at 710 Oak Hill Avenue, Hagerstown. There's plenty of store-side parking, or you can visit me at copyquick.com. If you want to see how really good I am, give me a try. I'm Mr. CopyQuick.
If you have the audacity to believe that the massive challenge of saving for college deserves more than meager attention from your financial advisor,
If you believe that whatever you're facing, you deserve face time.
Join the nearly 7 million investors who think like you do. FaceTime and Think Time make a difference.
join us.
At Edward Jones, it's how we make sense of investing.
Each week during this segment, we somewhat unwisely give each panel member a chance to say what's on their mind. Paul, what's on yours?
I've got a very dear friend, Tim, who, believe it or not, who just, she's fixated on Christmas shopping. And around about the 1st of February, she starts asking me, what you buy your wife for Christmas, next Christmas? And she's one of these ladies who sets the lawn chair out in the line at Walmart 2 days before the doors open. And she sent me a Thanksgiving card that really ticked me off. Had a big turkey on the front, and you open it up and it says, 56 shopping days of Christmas. Now, the thing I hate about Thanksgiving is there's only 37 shopping days left of Christmas. That ticked me off, and I hope she's looking.
Okay, I imagine it'll tick somebody off. I'm not sure. Carrie, what do you have for us this week?
Well, I'm honestly at a loss for words, thanks to Paul. But really, my last call is kind of related, and it's weird that it's related. But you know, we're less than a week now to Christmas, so stay calm, my fellow friends who have small children who are scrambling to play Santa. We'll get through it, and Christmas will be great. So. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chuck?
Well, for me, I'm always the sentimental one, I guess. I look at, they talk about how the economy's rough and maybe it's starting to bounce back a little bit, but, I read the stories about Toys for Tots and all the places that are serving meals on Christmas, and I just am always amazed by the way people step up and volunteer for Christmas. It's a day that most people think is just about them, but we have so many people that think about other people at Christmas. And, I'm just proud to say that I'm from this county where they really, just take care of not just their own.
That's a very nice sentiment. And
I have one more point.
Yes, sir.
I get tired of these things about people not getting enough for Christmas. Now, I grew up poor. When I was about 4 years old, I asked my old man, I asked my father for a pony, and I really put the heat on him for the pony. Came down Christmas morning, there was a pile of manure underneath a tree, a rope tied, and nothing, no pony. He claimed the pony got away. But I got to be 28 years old before I realized that he'd really taken me to the cleaners on it. So
that explains so much. Okay, and as for me, my last word is on Ron Burgundy. I've been watching these promotions for Anchorman 2 for about 6 months now, and I'm convinced there is no such movie. And so I'm asking you, if there is a movie, don't go see it, because it's promoting 6 months worth of commercials for a whole bunch of companies I don't care about. Movies used to be good without those promotions. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to visiting you again and seeing you on the flip side.